All right, everybody. We are live. And this is the first time we have the Battle of Ontario. First time we've had a crossover stream. The first, and of course it went the way that it always does with the Toronto Maple Leafs. We are here joined by, from Game Over Ottawa, just up the 401 or up Highway 7 if you're feeling frisky. Maude, welcome to this. I'm really glad that you're here to talk about what seems like the yearly decimation of this Toronto Maple Leafs franchise that is, I swear, will one day be studied by ancient historians as to what goes on with this team. How are you doing today? How did you feel about that game?
You're killing me already. I'm super happy. Obviously, I was not expecting this outcome, so it should be a fun show here tonight. I can gloat a little bit, which it feels a little weird to do because it's been a rough start to the season for the Sens, but I mean, rough start for the Leafs too, right? So I'm sure there'll be a lot to get into here tonight.
Hey, rough start, who cares, right? Rough start. If you're having a rough start, if you're having a rough day, all you got to do is go to the Scotiabank Arena and all of your problems will be solved. Because the stat that I saw that came up, we're going to get to the game, but the stat I saw at the end of the game when everybody was booing the team rightfully was that the Leafs have allowed more than 4 goals every single game at the Scotiabank Arena. And pretty much 5 and 6 goals. Like, that's pretty much what we were going.
That's insane. Yeah. I thought the Sens were doing bad on home ice. They had lost like the last 4 or 5 at home, but that's even worse. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it is. It's rough out there. So let's start with this game. The highlight there's 2 highlights for the Leafs in this game, and then I'm going to talk about all the lowlights, and you could talk about all the highlights for yourself.
Yeah, they kind of tie in, right?
They tie in. So the first only highlight was that William Nylander apparently takes the subway to the work like everybody else. All right.
Oh my God, I thought you were going to say his goal, but
yeah, his goal too. Yeah, I mean his 13-game point streak, but whatever, they lost. But he does take the subway, and I mean, if you live in Toronto, you know why. It is insane to drive in Toronto. I've actually seen him on the subway. That's one time I looked, and he was wearing a mask, but I looked, and I'm like, I just give him a nod.
You could tell from the flow, right? Even with the mask on.
The suit, and I just looked, and I was going to work at the Scotiabank Arena. I looked at him, I'm like, skim one of these, and and that was it. That was the end of the interaction. Did you see that picture? The guy sitting next to him had a Leafs hat. Didn't notice who he was.
Trying to act cool. That was funny.
Yeah. Anyway, I love this. I already saw in the chat. It's like, got to admit, I'm stopping by as a Habs fan to rubberneck. Oh, shit. You're here. You better stick around.
Everyone shows up when the Leafs lose. It's the classic.
Yeah.
The reason that I'm even at this job right now and knowing about SDPN is because I was one of those people who shows up to Steve's channel and the podcast when the Leafs lose really badly.
The Schadenfreude's network, podcast network.
Yep.
That's what it is. We're going to have that tonight. And the other highlight literally was Nick Robertson getting his first goal of the season. I believe his first goal of the season. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, good for him.
It was. Beautiful goal, beautiful pass by Max Domi. I want to get all the positives out of the way because
it's a lot of negative, right?
Every single goal given up by the Leafs, and now credit to the Ottawa Senators. Claude Giroux had the game of his life tonight. He's a veteran, and I heard he's not starting the season well. He's kind of up there in age. Again, the fountain of youth is just coming to Toronto because he absolutely murdered Toronto. And the story of the game is literally this: John Klingberg -4, and a very
I didn't realize
loud
it got that bad.
-4, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Giordano also -4, a very loud -4 as well. That's just age, but my goodness, the first couple goals, it's almost comical how poorly they have defended, and just you can't let Ottawa, a team that is top 5 in scoring, give them any chances, especially if you fall down in the middle of play. That's a recipe for success for the Ottawa Senators, right? Yeah, and it is absolutely just rough watching him. Watching John Klingberg, honestly, it makes the Jake Gardiner experience, it makes me feel like it was Chris Pronger in his prime. That's what I feel like.
Everyone was too hard on Jake Gardiner in retrospect, right? Yeah.
Everyone was hard on Justin Hall. Justin Hall looks like Lick Lidstrom compared to this dude.
Oh, God.
Swear to God.
That's tough.
It's rough. It is rough out there. But yeah, what did you see on the Ottawa side? Because I'm gonna talk about the Leafs and what I think of this team this season. But I want to get from the Ottawa side because you guys won the game. I don't want to steal it with Leaf Schadenfreude though. That's why everyone's probably here.
Yeah, so like you mentioned Klingberg and Giordano with that -4 pairing. Obviously, it was mostly their fault on the goals, like Giordano having to go off his skate and in too. But I think 3 of the goals was really strong forechecking from Joseph, Giroux, and Stützle on that line. Including on that play you mentioned where Klingberg was falling down. Like he got back up and you had 3 Leafs in front of the net. And somehow they're all just standing around because Joseph beats the defender behind the net, wins the puck battle, and then they're all just standing around and Giroux is wide open. So there was a few plays like that where we were just flying in and stealing the puck behind the net. And you look at the one where they stripped Joseph Woll as well. Like I felt like it was really the aggressive forecheck from that line specifically that had the Leafs struggling today.
Yeah, and it was just like I said, I knew this game was going to be chaos of some magnitude. I said it was going to be 9-8 for one of the teams. And I gave the Leafs too much credit. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I guess you did.
I really gave them too much credit. Yeah. So, like, what would you say? You'd say that Claude Giroux was probably deserves the belt for this game to steal from the Leafs because they don't deserve to give them that belt. Throw it to Ottawa.
Is the belt like their post game MVP award?
Yeah, it's like a WWE Championship belt. I believe it was gifted by Edge.
That's actually sick.
I think I'm probably wrong about this, but I think and it's. The belt, they should throw the belt in the garbage right now because that was terrible.
Yeah, no one.
Like, who did you think on the Sens deserved that the most? Because I mean, Matt Joseph was everywhere. I heard his name like 100 times in this game.
Yeah, Joseph has been awesome to start the season, and that might have been his best game so far, which is impressive because we were all really even when the team was struggling, he's one guy whose play never really slipped. He's been able to keep it up so far and just improve. Like I didn't really know what to expect out of this line coming in tonight because it was just kind of thrown together for this game. Obviously, Stützle and Giroux play together a lot, but Joseph is kind of the odd man out on that line, and because it's usually Tkachuk, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that Joseph was able to slot in there and produce a good amount of offense with these guys is great because the biggest problem for Joseph last year was pretty much his line mates, in my opinion, because he was always playing with our bottom 6 grinders who couldn't score. Like he was playing with Tyler Mott and Dylan Gambrell and people like that. So you see this guy move up the lineup and he's actually able to show a little bit of skill and play with some guys who can finish because he made some great passes to set up his line mates here tonight. So yeah, I guess with how you asked who would be the one MVP, I'm kind of torn. It has to be one of the guys from that line, right? I'm kind of torn between Joseph, but also Stützle as well, because the 4 points tonight, he has not had a game this season where he has actually popped off and taken control of a game. He's actually been like quite bad so far this season, despite being able to put up about a point per game pace. So Timmy Stützle waking up is huge, and that could be a big sign that things maybe could turn around for the Sens. So I don't know, if I had to pick one, I would probably say Timmy Stützle, to be honest, because he has been quiet so far this season, but obviously not quiet tonight.
Yeah, what a way to turn your season around. Like, this is, like I said, this is like the therapy session of the NHL. Like, this is where you go to just get better. You're not feeling your game. You go and you play the Leafs. I swear, if this were game over San Jose Sharks, the San Jose Sharks would have won the game 6-3 the way the Leafs played tonight.
Oh, God.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe they're a little too bad for that, you know?
I'm looking at the chat, and I'm like, I'm dying. Like, we have a Sabres fan, Anthony. Sabres fan enjoying the bonfire. Welcome. I really hope
everyone's here.
Heats you up. I want everybody to come in and join this because, yeah. I mean, I feel bad. Like, I saw somebody say that, Joseph Woll, we need somebody that doesn't like sled in soft goals. Joseph Woll has been really good this season, and I feel really bad because most of those goals were just like, if your defenseman abandons you just by just gone, like just disappears into the night, like it's very hard for an NHL goaltender to let them not let in a goal there. Except the last goal, which didn't really matter. I mean, it was 5-3. They weren't coming back the way they were playing. Obviously, the Steve Dangle special, where he said,
he did not tend the goal on that one.
If you're a goaltender, you tend the goal. and he did not tend the goal. And like as a metaphor for the season, William Nylander and Morgan Riley just clunked their heads together like it was the Three Stooges. Like that goal.
Nylander went flying into the post too. That was a little ugly.
Jeez. And you know what's funny? Before that goal went in, I was typing because that goal was like 20 seconds maybe after the next goal. I was typing literally in the chat at Steve Dangle. I'm like, is it a one taker tonight? And as I press send, I swear to God, as I press send, that goal goes in, and I'm like, I might have manifested that in the opposite way. I might have negatively manifested that. So, apologies, Leaf fans. Yeah, Charlie's here. Your co-host Charlie's saying, got to give the Sens a little credit. I'm gonna give you the Sens credit right now. I'm gonna give the Sens right credit.
Yeah, hype us up, gas us up here.
Ottawa Senators are the best team in Canada right now.
Ooh. Really? You think? What about Vancouver?
Vancouver, yes. Vancouver,
we're gonna
yes.
get smoked by them tomorrow.
I gotta see more out of them. I guess it's neck and neck. I'll say it's neck and neck. I think Ottawa does have more talent, but yeah, it's neck and neck. And you wouldn't have thought that, right? Like the NHL literally turned upside down. Just like, it's completely weird. I mean, like Canada for hockey right now is looking pretty rough. I mean, Alberta.
That's the thing. A 5-6 record for the Sens right now, and we're still like in the upper half of Canadian teams. That's crazy with Alberta.
Top two, you know? And it's just, it's rough. And I think that, I mean, the Battle of Alberta is the scuffle of Alberta. And then, okay, Vancouver. I wanted to say that, but you know what? I want to give Ottawa credit, so I'm going to say they're better than Vancouver. There you go. Just because
we'll see tomorrow. We'll find out tomorrow with the head-to-head matchup for sure.
There you go. The clash of Canada, like that is clash of the Titans in Canada.
The clash of Canada to see if the second best team in Canada can get to 500 by beating the other best team in Canada.
So that was the game. Anything else you want to point out for the game itself? Because I think we have a lot of subplots to get to about the game. So what about anything else from the game that you'd want to talk about?
Yeah, I'd say that the defensive play from the Sens tonight, I don't know what you thought, if you thought that the Sens were actually pretty good defensively, or if it was just the Leafs sucking offensively, because that's been the major problem so far for the Sens is the defensive structure and defending against the cycle plays and stuff like that, especially penalty kill too. When I saw Nylander rip that shot 5 seconds into the first power play today, I was worried. I was like, okay, here we go again. There has been at least 5 goals allowed by the Sens this season where it was a goal in the first 10 seconds of the power play. So I don't know what it is, but for some reason we lose the face-off and then we don't know what to do. We're just scrambling right away. So I was scared at that point, but the Sens did actually do a pretty good job defensively, despite me still not really knowing what their defensive system is supposed to be. I thought it was really funny before the game on Sportsnet. Jamal Myers was saying, I don't know what the Senators' defensive structure is supposed to be. And he listed off 3 specific styles of zone defending that he's like, it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we're all thinking with how the Sens have been playing. But somehow they managed to pull it off tonight. That's why I wanted to ask you, if you thought that the Sens defended well, or was it just the Leafs kind of not really having their best today?
Yeah, and the Sens look good. I'm saying, they look like a dangerous team. The Sens, it's kind of, sometimes it's hard when you're watching the Leafs a lot because the Sens always look like a dangerous team when they play the Leafs, no matter who's on the roster.
Yeah, it seems to be.
But they did play extremely well because other than the Nylander goal, there was 3 goals, but nobody looked dangerous. Austin Matthews, who's been probably the best player in the NHL this season, objectively.
Ooh, that's a hot take, I think. Objectively?
McDavid hasn't had quite the nuclear start.
Yeah, but, definitely not McDavid.
Anyway, he's been amazing. Let's just say that. But they shut him down, and it's almost hey, it's a bad recipe for success when not getting a hat trick causes your team to lose. That's kind of something with the Leafs. It's it's not the NBA to where if you're an NBA fan, a big superstar can paper over a lot of problems. You can count on LeBron James or Kevin Durant to give you all the points and lead your team to victory. Hockey's different. You got to get everybody rocking and rolling and everybody's system on point. And the Leafs, definitely not on point there. So yeah, I mean that's the game, and I think. Do you think DJ Smith saved his job here?
It's weird because pretty much everyone wanted him fired, not just after the last game, but even after the game before that too. Especially because we've had a few stretches in the early parts of this season where we've had like 3 or 4 days off after a game, and then everyone thinks, well, that's the time to change the coach so the new guy can come in and get set up. But it seems that Steve Stais so far likes DJ Smith, and he likes that the players like him. All the players are still like on board with DJ. So I wouldn't necessarily say the wins saved his job, because I think if they lost, he would have at least still gotten 1 or 2 more games. But thank God that they did win, because if we lost this one, then it's a back-to-back against Vancouver tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier. I don't give us too much like of a chance in that game. It's going to be scary. So if we lost today against the Leafs, it could have really become a big tailspin. So definitely a huge win.
Listen, I'm going to say it right now. If they do win, if the Ottawa Senators win that game, and it looks like if they're winning the game well in hand, and it's really good, everybody who's going to the Sens game tomorrow, I want to hear a sorry DJ chat like we heard from the New Jersey Devils fans for Lindy Ruff. I want to hear it.
Hopefully we can get to that point pretty soon and just turn things around quickly. Because everyone likes DJ as a person. No one wants to see him go in terms of like his personality and like who he is. No one wants to lose that from the organization. It's just the systems and the strategies that everyone worries about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, look, I said it in the beginning of the season. I'm like, I kind of picked the Sens to be the team that takes the leap, because I was saying like I liked all the talent, and I was like, maybe we're gonna get a Battle of Ontario, maybe like sometime in the playoffs.
I hope.
First time in 20 years. It'd be great if we could get that in 2024. They almost had it in 2017. Do you remember that? Like they were about a point away. I think it was the last game of the season. The Leafs, like they lost to Columbus, and if they had gotten 1 more point, they would have played the Sens in the first round. The year that they went on the magical run, so they probably would have lost. But
I remember that actually very vividly, because I remember watching the Leafs play Columbus in that last game and just hoping that we wouldn't get matched up against the Leafs. Now I'm like, oh, I want it. I'm here for the chaos. But back then I was like, no, I don't want to have to deal with like the Leafs media circus if they beat us in the playoffs. But now I'm more like, bring it on.
Yeah, you should go to like downtown Ottawa and start a "We Want Toronto" chant. Like,
oh my
guess
God.
What? Toronto's not going to make you regret it. No one's going to make fun of. No one's going to make fun, because the way they're playing, chat "We Want Toronto" all you want. You're probably right.
It could be, yeah.
So, just want to talk before we get into what I think of this team. I want to talk about the new sponsor on SDPN. We're talking about Betano. Sorry about that. Look at that. The screen. I filled it. I fixed it. All right, guys.
You got it.
Betano, new sponsor. The NHL season is heating up, and there's never been a better time to get on the action. Whether you're looking to hammer an Austin Matthews anytime goal, or ride the puck line with the Montreal Canadiens, our partner at Sign Up Experts want to make sure you're ready to sweat your bets with one of the best. Sign Up Experts is hooking up our listeners with one of the newest sportsbooks available in Canada, Betano. Betano is home to some of the best odds when it comes to betting on the NHL and offers unique markets, including virtual soccer and basketball. All you gotta do to get started is scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. If it's still there with my messed up, placing of it.
I think we got it. I still see it.
I think I got it. Good. In the description to register and place that first bet. If you thought the Vancouver Canucks have been the best surprise of the season so far, or the Ottawa Senators, wait till you try Betano. Don't walk, run to check out Betano today. Scan that QR code, hit the link in the description to get started, and start sweating your bets with the best. Always remember to play responsibly and within your means. 19 plus to sign up for Betano. All right. I want to talk and say, here is where this is going to describe the Leafs based on the last game. All right.
Yeah, where are you at right now?
I want to. There's a quote by like a famous person. It says, "There's an old saying in Texas. I know it's in Tennessee, probably in Texas. It says, fool me once, shame on. You're not gonna get fooled again." And I was not fooled. I was not fooled by that.
You saw it coming.
I saw it coming. I was not fooled by that game one bit. To be fair, that game I was watching. I was like following it on the Score app because I could just not get anything to work because I was in the airport. And I was like, oh, 4-1. Like when I got on the plane, I was going from Washington. I got on the plane, I'm like, oh, it's 4-1. Oh man, this is shambles land. And I see they come back, and I'm like, I hope people don't like think this is like the team is all good, like everything is gonna be hunky dory and fine. Like I really hope nobody thinks that, because like there's a lot of problems that you could see with that team. Like you could see there was a ton of issues. I mean, going down 4-1 is not great, right? And it took an Austin Matthews masterclass and William Nylander killing it, but you can't count on those guys to paper over a terrible structure and terrible defense. I'm not fooled. And you know what? Before this season started, people asked me, and I'm like, I remember I went on Clay from Vancouver stream, and he's like, what do you think of the Leafs? And I said, not convinced, because they're the same Leafs, right? Like, that's what I saw. I'm like, I don't see much difference, right? They added to the forward group, yes, and, Bertuzzi hasn't been, up to snuff. Max Domi has been okay, but, like, those ads are good, and I have faith in them. But I said that defense only got older. They didn't get better. They got older. And boy, howdy, did they not get better by adding John Klingberg as their big defensive addition. Now, and it's funny, like after when the offseason ended and Brad Treliving goes to the podium and he's like, we're totally not done. This defense is not up to snuff. And it was almost like he was blaming Kyle Dubas for the defense, but like he should have blamed the mirror, because I'm going to hit you with a number. I tweeted this out. Guys, in the chat, I want you to guess this. The number is 7,900,000. What does that number represent?
I think I saw the answer.
What does that represent? Could that get you one really good defenseman? Yeah, but that's hard to get in free agency. Could it get you two really good players? I think so. Yeah, that's almost, $4 million a piece, right?
Maybe even 3 solid depth players too, if they're between like 2 to 3 million.
Yeah. So you know what Brad Treliving did on July 1st and in and around July 1st? He couldn't wait. His phone was itching in his hand to sign David Kampf, Ryan Reeves, and John Klingberg to make up for that almost $8 million.
Beautiful stuff, if you ask me.
It is absolutely just, what a way to start your regime, okay? What a way to start off your regime. Look, if you're going to be a team like the Leafs and you're going to live and die and say, look, we're going to have 4 guys that are going to make double digits. I count William Nylander because that's going to be the 4th. You're going to have those guys. You got to be absolutely impeccable with every other dollar you spend. And that was just, David Kampf can only be a 4th liner. So 2.2 on your 4th line, that's not good no matter how you slice it. Ryan Reeves went from like up here to Leaf fans to like down here. Nobody likes him.
I felt like everyone was buying the hype on Reeves going into the season. Like, were you?
A little bit, because I love the guy personality wise. I think he's awesome, and I think he's a great personality, great ambassador for the game. I just like the game needs more swagger. It needs more personality, and I say this with all respect. He would be a fantastic professional wrestler. Like as a fan of wrestling, he'd be fantastic at it. Massive. Intimidating looking, and can talk and has confidence. I really think so. But as a hockey player on a winning team, that's not gonna work. And I was like, oh, we want toughness, but they're like, why couldn't Ryan Reeves beat up Brad Marchand? Well, he was on the bench because he doesn't play much because you can't play him, right? So yeah, it's rough. And like the only way out of this, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner. It's either you look at like you really only have 2 options here. It's you explore options to trade William Nylander for defensive help, which you're not winning that trade, by the way.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
In aggregate, you're not winning it. Maybe you get better from the depth-wise, but that's a dangerous game to play. I don't think you want to do it. The other is you got to go and get like the 2027 first, 2028 first round picks and just go into the pool where nobody wants to go and get another defenseman. Even then, I don't know if that helps out, because who's trading number 1 defenseman at the deadline? You guys got Jacob Chikrin because Arizona's like, we just don't want to win or pay anybody, right? Like, you guys got...
Are the Leafs missing some of those first round picks too? Like you said, going into like 2027, 28?
I think they have, I off the top, I know they traded like 2025 conditional for Jake McCabe, which is looking like a...
Oh, yeah, 2025 is missing.
They got him in
McCabe is injured, right?
He's injured. Yeah, he's solid, but first rounder, like, I mean, that's the thing. You don't get these guys... You don't get these guys at the deadline. I mean, you got to find ways to either develop them, which they haven't been able to do, or... you got to trade big names and find a straight up for like, there's no real solution. That's what I'm trying to say is they've painted themselves into this corner. And yeah, they're going to sign William Nylander to a big extension, and he's going to afford many more a Metro pass to get to games. And I love him. I love William. I love the guy. I love the core four. And like, but I don't know, man. Like I'm almost okay if you take a 2027 first round pick and trade it. Cause it's like YOLO. You got to, like this core, you have the best players in franchise history, maybe 3 of the best players in franchise history, and you're gonna let it go to waste because there's no other options, right? Like there's no other way to move. So like maybe like take a page out of NBA GMs. Like I don't know if you follow basketball at all, but go ahead and look at, if you don't, like go ahead and look at recent NBA trades. Some of the first round picks that are included in these trades are hilarious.
They go really far ahead, right?
The James Harden trade, that James Harden went from Philly to the Clippers. They traded a 2030 first round pick. 2030. Like, I'd never even seen anybody write 2030, let alone a first round pick. Because the way that the GMs think there, it's like, we want to win now. We don't give a crap about what this pick could be down the line because you can't predict them, right? You don't know. Like, the picks, I think people overvalue them in a sense. I mean, we're getting a lot off topic here, but maybe not. Because, like, yeah, maybe they go out and they just bolster this team and say, that is 2030's problem, right? I wish more teams would do that. I think it would increase the intrigue for the game, but man,
I think you're 100% right about that because with the way the Leafs core's contracts are structured, like Matthew's signing the 4-year extension, right? It's not like he's signed for 8 years. You need to be winning now. Yeah. And like by all accounts, he does like it in Toronto, so it's not necessarily a case of like, oh, he's gonna leave if you do really poorly, but these are the years that you need to be winning in his prime. Like he's 26 now. It's similar to McDavid where it's like, okay, you got to hurry up and actually win while these guys are in their prime. And I would say it'll help at least that John Tavares can probably take a pay cut in a couple of years. But other than that, it's like I agree with you that they should be just trading all the picks, try to get that defense as good as it can be. And also on the topic of the defense, I do have a question for you. This is a little bit of a weird question because obviously they changed GMs in the offseason. So previously, Rasmus Sandin getting traded away, obviously that was by Kyle Dubas. But I feel like if I was a Leafs fan, I would just be wishing that we still had him and then not having Klingberg, right? Like, what's the general sentiment of Sandin having been moved away in terms of just like, oh, we don't have room for him to play, and now you have Klingberg instead? Like, does that bother anyone?
Version, yeah. Nobody really mentions Rasmus Sandin.
That's what I find weird. Is he doesn't really get brought up anymore.
It kind of feels like he's been like, just kind of like 86 from everyone's mind. Like nobody remembers him. Like the trade was good, I guess. They got a first round pick for him, but I mean, he wasn't the type of defenseman I guess that they wanted. But yeah, I guess you're right.
But then the new GM comes in and gets Klingberg, which is like I would rather have a Sandin than Klingberg for sure.
Gets Klingberg. You couldn't wait to get Klingberg. He's like, oh, 4 million. 4 million, and he's like 33, and his defensive metrics have gotten worse. You think somebody at 33 is going to be like defensive metrics going, and go, woo? Like
he's not going to suddenly figure it out, right?
Like he's 33 years old or 32 years old rather. So, man, I don't know. Like I don't like that. I was saying this before the season too. Like I was telling everybody who'd listen that, I was saying it like. That the Atlantic Division, like this year's Atlantic Division is not last year's Atlantic Division. Like yesterday's price is not today's price. The Atlantic Division is absolutely a bloodbath, like with a lot of mid teams trying to and the Boston Bruins. Like everybody, the Boston Bruins
Boston
are
pisses
eternal.
Me off. Yeah,
are just eternal.
Unstoppable.
They're eternal. They will be good until the sun explodes. Like that's it. Like they will never not be good. Everybody else is fighting for second place. And man, I could see a scenario where like the Leafs are fighting for a wild card.
It could be, yeah.
I really don't think that they have that guaranteed spot that they have had in previous years because everybody's competitive. Like everybody up and down the Atlantic
Yeah,
Division.
everyone's got 5 wins now that the Sens got that tonight, and they could get to 6 tomorrow. So the Leafs only at 6-2, like 6 wins out of 13 games. You got to be pretty disappointed with that so far, right? Like that's, like you said, that's probably going to be leading you to just kind of being in the wild card race unless they suddenly go on like a 10-game tear.
Which they could, and that's the thing. Nobody.
Yeah,
knows
we have seen them do it before.
Like I said off the top, like historians will study the Leafs like they study the pyramids. Like it's like, how did this happen? Like every time they do things that don't make sense, where it's like, oh, they're terrible, and now they're the wagon best. But I'm never gonna be fooled. Like I'm gonna be like that. I'm gonna be like that George Bush quote. I'm gonna be like, fool me once, not gonna get fooled again. Like I'm not gonna be convinced until the playoffs. And I hate to be one of those fans. I hate it because, like, you know, why are we watching? Like, everyone's gonna, like, I hate to be a Leaf hater that's like, oh, no, well, I don't care. Talk to me in April. Talk to me in April. Like, it's November now, right? But that's the thing. Like, I'll have fun. I hope Austin Matthews gets 90 goals. I hope William Nylander gets 50 goals. I hope all that. But it's not going to matter if they have literally nobody on defense. Like, literally nothing to show for it on the back end.
Yeah, I don't blame you for being one of those fans that's just like, come back to me around the playoffs, because like even with Ottawa, it's like, come back to me when we can actually be above 500 after November too. Like I will say at least the Leafs have their stumbling block at the playoffs, whereas the Sens, it's like the beginning of the season. We can't even figure it out right there. So it could be worse. I'll say that. Like, happiness for the Sens fans here tonight, but it could instantly just go back to being crap because, like you said, the Leafs are just mind-boggling. So even though the Sens have been struggling so much, they get that win against the Leafs somehow. Like it's just hilariousness, and then the Sens could just go right back to sucking. But
yeah,
but I don't blame you for being like, yeah, you gotta see in the playoffs.
Yeah, and like, you know, I'm getting to the end of the Leafs rant because I feel like we're kind of circling it. Like, you know, terrible management in the offseason. I mean, you know, hopefully we'll see more from Bertuzzi and Domi. But, again, terrible cap management. One person said, over here, I might have lost it. Adam Firebear said, still think it's time for a coaching change. And honestly, like, that discussion's going to start soon, I think. Like, that's going to... That hasn't started yet. Like, you guys, I think DJ Smith was on the hot seat pretty early. Like,
yeah, I figure he might be asking about DJ Smith. But do you think for Keefe too? You think Keefe's on the hot seat already?
Oh, was that? Yeah, I thought it was Keefe.
It could be either way. We can take the question from both sides. It's a question
for both. That was the trick. It was a trick question.
Yeah,
I think that discussion is going to start because I think it's valid. Is it going to fix all the problems? No, because they don't have any talent really on the defensive. On the back end, besides Morgan Riley, and you know TJ Brody's all right, but he's getting up there in age, and
he's slowing down a bit.
Jake McCabe's all right. You know Timothy Liljegren was okay, but he just busted up his ankle. He got a high ankle sprain. That's almost as bad as breaking your ankle. Like you know, so yeah, Sheldon Keefe. You know maybe they'll change it up, change the attitude of the team like they did with Mike Babcock. You might get that short-term burst. Because Sheldon Keefe's been around for a lot of calamities with this team. Like, let's not forget, Sheldon Keefe was around for the David Ayers game. Sheldon Keefe was around for the Columbus series, where somebody mentioned a Leafs Korpisalo game, and I'm like, damn it.
That's right. It's a throwback. That series. It's a throwback to the bubble.
I thought I forgot that series because I just X'd it out of my mind. Because, like,
God.
It was a fever dream. There was no hockey in August.
We're here to remind you of all the Leafs calamities.
But like what I'm saying is like Sheldon Keefe's been there for everything. Oh yeah, and the Montreal series where it was 3-1 in the series.
That one's still the funniest to me. I couldn't believe that shit when the Leafs lost that. Oh my god.
That was something else. Like I had seen it all. I mean, we'd seen a 42-year-old employee beat them. Like something that only happens in the movies. Like almost like if you told me Air Bud beat the Leafs in net, like I would believe you. But that Montreal one was like, I could not believe Sheldon Keefe came back from that. He got 9 lives. I think Brendan Shanahan like really loves him. But I think, you know, they might, and they got Guy Boucher behind the bench, right? They got old Sens coach Guy Boucher who had some success.
Yeah, I don't know if you want him as the head coach. There's just going to be trap hockey the whole time. If he gets to take over, and then no one's going to be enjoying watching that. I'll say that.
Give me trap hockey. I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, you could go for it because you're probably tired of like all the ridiculous high-scoring losses, right?
give me 2001 New Jersey Devils trap hockey.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, right?
1-0 every game. And if they win, I don't care. I don't care. Just win. Like, we've seen it. Leaf fans, like, we've been deprived of talent so long. Like, the Ottawa Senators in their history, which is, 31 years? Being back in Ottawa since, like, World War I. But, like, that history, the Ottawa Senators have probably had more talent than the Leafs have had in the last 70 years, right? Like, honestly, like, top-end talent. So we've been, like, deprived of that. Now we have the high-end talent, and we're like, we're not satisfied. We want to win. Like, we want to win now. So, yeah, bring back Lou Lamoriello, implement that trap hockey. I'm all down for the trap. All right, let's turn it to the Sens now, because I've been self-indulgent with my anger towards this team for a little too long.
No worries. You gotta get it out of your system here tonight. So I totally get it. I'm just kind of like, I will let you express all that's on your mind.
You know what? It's like, when you have an irate customer, like if you're working customer service,
yeah,
like you let them get it out. It's like,
you sit there and
I
smile.
bought this. I got a Big Mac, and you gave me a McChicken, and that's kind of how I feel like I was that.
That's the Leafs fan base summarized right there.
But anyway, so I'm gonna turn to the Sens now. What did you think? I know it might be a little old news, but not really. What did you think about Brady Tkachuk's comments about the fans? Because I have my thoughts, because it was kind of similar to something that happened with Leaf fans. Like, well, what did you think about what Brady Tkachuk said?
I'm glad you brought that up, because it was actually both Brady, and then a couple days later they asked sort of the same questions to Claude Giroux, and both of them had the sentiment that they were annoyed with the fan base for booing, and that kind of just pissed everyone off. We were just at the point of, like, what you were just saying about the Leafs, where it's like, okay, we have this high-end talent now and it's go time. We feel like it's that for Ottawa too. Obviously not quite as high-end talent as the Leafs have, but where the Leafs, should be top of the division, our expectation is to be like near the wild card at least. And only winning 4 of the first 10 games at that point is just like inexcusable. So, like, if I was in the arena, I don't know if I would have been joining in on the Fire DJ chants, because I do think it's a little harsh to, like, say it in the arena, as opposed to posting something on Twitter or me complaining about the team on this show. But I do understand all the booing, because there was some absolutely horrible performances on home ice. And I mean, the Leafs have been getting booed too. So I was actually curious to ask you about how you felt about those too. Like, I'm sure you feel all that's justified. And would you also be annoyed if the players were getting on the fans for booing?
Yeah. So here's where I'm at with it. So I'm a fan of, like, okay, so I'll preface it with this. I'm a fan of stand-up comedy, okay? And I've gone to, like, a few shows. Like, I like going to shows. And I've even tried open mics, surprisingly enough. Didn't say I'm good at it, but they let anybody go on. But somebody said, because if you go to open mics or you see some, like, opening acts, what they'll say is, if the crowd's not feeling them, you know what they say? They're like, oh, this crowd's kind of tough today. You guys got no energy. And then somebody told me, it's like, no, the crowd's not tough. Be funnier. Like, like,
yeah,
people go to a comedy club to laugh. Like, nope, Kevin Hart's not saying, hey, this is a tough crowd, because everyone's going there to laugh, and he's really good at it. Same thing with sports. People are going to cheer. It's not that the crowd is bad, the fans are bad. It's that, hey, they're not getting what they paid for. They're not getting the team they were promised. Look, and there are lines. There are lines you can cross. I mean, fire the coach, it's tough, but I'm okay with it. I mean, it's, as long as it's not, like, derogatory or slurs.
Yeah, it wasn't, like, vulgar.
Obviously those things. And honestly, I'd prefer in the crowd, anything with that kind of stuff. And obviously with social media too, like going on Twitter and being like, you could say, hey, this team sucks, like I did tonight. But, like, nothing personal. Like, don't attack them. Because it's still just a game. It's just a show. Like, these are still people going to work. But it's kind of lame. It's kind of lame to blame the fans. Like, they're promised a really good team. Like, they went to the cap for the first time. You got a new owner. First time in a while, rather. It was the same thing with Salute Gate. Like, I remember Salute Gate.
I figured that's what you were referring to, yeah.
Because, like, that team was horrific. Like, I would take this team over that team any day of the week, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
Like, people don't, like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is bad, but we've had it worse, Yeah, like, people pay a lot of money, especially now, to go to these games. A lot of money. and to like, and I hate to be, but at the end of the day, it's like you're in show business, and like the people buying the tickets are the ones getting the cap up, like they're the ones elevating the cap where you can get more money, I'm like, I feel like I'm an old man saying this kind of stuff. Maybe I'm getting old, but it's that's my point. It's like, just be better. Like, it's not like, oh, this crowd's so tough on us. Be better. I don't know what to tell you. It's sports.
I'll say as well, like, I do understand the players not liking the fire DJ chants because they love their coach.
Fair.
But in terms of the booing, I would rather, and I think...
Have you been to a sporting event?
yeah. In terms of the booing, I would rather have the crowd booing than just being silent or not showing up because they've tuned out, right? The booing at least shows that the fans are still engaged. They want better from you. They expect better from you because they do believe in you that you can be better, but it's not happening, right? So... from my perspective, the booing actually shows the passion of the fan base, as opposed to people not selling out the building,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and in a market like Ottawa is a hockey crazy market, but it's not like Toronto where it's like no matter what crap you put out there, the building's gonna be sold out. You're gonna have millions in the gate. Like it's gonna be like there's no financial penalty for being bad for the Leafs. Ottawa fans don't give that same privilege to their team, and I actually respect that. I'm not making fun of them for not filling the building. That's actually a good thing. It's like no, put something better out there, or we're not driving to Canada to come see you at rush hour, and spending a lot of money in tough times to, I actually respect that a bit more as a deterrent for your team. Like, I think Leaf fans, like, I think, like, they only stopped selling out the building when it was, like, they're really tanking. Like, that was the times where there were actually not sellouts. Now,
even then, it was probably still, like, 90% capacity, right? It was probably still pretty good.
Yeah, it was always pretty good. Like, I would never cry for MLSC one bit, so.
Because you're right. It's a smart fan base and a passionate fan base that has standards and has expectations. Because I'm pretty sure, like within the last, like probably I think before COVID, when we were just really starting to be bad, I'm pretty sure I went to a game where it was less than 10,000 attendance. It was like 9,000 or something. Damn. So it was pretty rough there for a while when the team was just like outright tanking and trading everyone. So you're right in terms of the fact that it could be worse, and the fact that the fans are still showing up, and even though they're booing the bad performances, it just shows the passion.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's we've been going on for a bit. Like, if anybody's got some questions, shoot them in the chat here because I'd love to see it. So, Ottawa's going to play Vancouver, the absolute clash of the Titans of Canada.
Yeah,
how are you feeling about that? Do you think back-to-back wins? Like, just they took the Leafs' soul and now they're gonna run with it back home.
I hope they're hyped up from that because they're gonna need that energy on the second half of a back-to-back. That's the thing, is if we had an extra day off in between the games, I would give the Sens actually like a pretty good chance against Vancouver. But since Vancouver is like already in the hotel in Ottawa, just waiting and probably like watching this game here tonight, knowing what to expect from the Sens, I think it's going to be really tough. I'm hoping that at least maybe they'll start their backup goalie against us and we won't have to go against Demko. Maybe that will help a little bit, but it's tough. It like as good as today was, it's still tough to be confident in how this team has played so far overall. If they can play as good as they did today, I think they have a chance, but today was more of the anomaly in terms of before this they had one win in the last 6 games, right? And multiple games where they were just like down 2-0, down 3-0 like constantly. So they need to have a good start against Vancouver and not put themselves in a hole, which was one of the positives here tonight, was that they were actually able to hang with Toronto for most of the game and then eventually pull away at the end. Instead of most of the Sens games this year, it's been being down by multiple goals and then trying to claw back, which hasn't worked out very well. So I don't know. I'm not feeling too confident about tomorrow, but at least we get to celebrate the awesome win for the Sens here tonight.
Did you just say Toronto? Did you just pronounce the T?
Did I?
T?
If I did, that was by mistake. That's like a slip
to everyone in Toronto. You just insulted the city of Toronto. I'm just kidding. That's
no, fun. I know. Usually it's Toronto. It's Toronto.
Toronto. You know, it depends where you're from. I did not see this. I did see it, but I kind of forgot it. Jacob Chychrun played 31 minutes. That's insane.
thank God that we have someone else who can just play a shit ton of minutes, because with Shabbat out, because DJ Smith hates playing these AHL defensemen. Like Nick, Matt, and Paolo played 5 minutes and 50 seconds today, which at that point is like, why do you even have him at the lineup?
Not even doing cardio. Like, it's
yeah,
not even cardio, bro.
Exactly. Like, put it like at that point, like send him down and call up a different defenseman, because clearly DJ doesn't like this guy. So Chychrun has had to shoulder most of the ice time, and hey, it worked here today. He was a beast. That was probably his best game this season. Like he did have 2 goals in the home opener, but since then, this is probably his best game in a while. So awesome stuff from him.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and then for the Leafs side, they're going on to play, I believe, Calgary next, and then a back-to-back against those absolute monsters in the Vancouver Canucks, where we'll have.
Oh yeah, you're playing Vancouver too.
They're gonna be on that loop, and I'm interested to see how they do against the Canucks. And I'd actually, at that game, I'm going to plug it. We actually have former Canucks goalie Eddie Lack coming on. So
that's awesome.
That's not, hopefully we'll get that done.
Did he end up in the Leafs organization at one point too?
No, so it's going to be a 2-on-1 match for me, where they're going to beat me up.
Cool.
But yeah, here's my thing. I think the turning point of the season, to me, is going to be, because like Steve says, Steve says, he's like, the midseason comes pretty quickly, and it's approaching. Turning point, I think, of the season could be the Sweden trip. Because they're going to Sweden for like a week. It's kind of weird, because it's kind of dumb. I'm like, I kind of forgot they were going to Sweden, because I looked at the schedule. Like, we have our own schedule, like on a doc. I'm like, why the hell are they playing at 2 p.m. 2 games in a row? What the hell are they do? What? I'm like, is there a next gen game, like 3 games in a row? And then I realized, they're going to Sweden. So either, and what I think might happen is maybe the travel and the getting away from the city, getting away from the country, traveling, the camaraderie, and the, just getting out of there and having a new environment, a new challenge, and a new, jet lag, and fighting that off. Maybe that brings something out of this team. And that's, I think, what Leaf fans should count on, is that maybe they, they come about and they say, like, I think they're playing the Wild and the Red Wings. Not easy games, but, pretty challenging, 2 pretty challenging teams, I'd say. And I can see that, maybe they come out with really solid wins and they look really good and everyone's really happy. But if they don't, and they come out of that like they did tonight, I think it's officially time. I think it's time to really push the panic button. Like, I think most Leaf fans have pushed, like, maybe, like, I think there's varying sizes of the panic button. Like, there's a little, like, key on the keyboard, and then there's, like, a little big one, like that, like, Staples button, and then there's just, like, a panic, like a panic crank. So I think we're at the little panic button right now. So I think the big one might come out if they look really terrible in Sweden.
It's funny that you bring up Sweden, because the Sens are also going to Sweden and playing Detroit and Minnesota too. But the Sens and Leafs don't play each other while they're in Sweden, which I think is kind of funny. I always keep forgetting that the Leafs are also going to Sweden at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I think they're both home games for the Leafs, which is kind of like, how did MLSE agree to that?
Yeah, both. I think for the Sens too, both clubs.
How did they get MLSE to be like, yeah, we'll just give you back money that we'll get? Like, sure.
Yeah.
I don't care. Who cares money? What's money? Like check your phone bill. Like, they care about their money, right? So anyway, I think we've reached. I think we've covered it all. I think we've got the pulse of what's going on with our teams, the teams here that we cover and watch. So yeah, let them know, let them know where they can find you, Maude. Like, plug yourself, get yourself out there, let them know what's going on with your life here.
Yes, of course. Game Over Ottawa also on SDPN. If you want to pop in, if you're not a Sens fan, if you want to pop in when we lose and laugh at us, you can do that too, because we always appreciate extra views from that. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's @MaudeShow. Not the easiest to spell, but in the description there you can find it. Twitter is basically the only place that I'm on for social media, so that is the main place to find me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna end it off with a question. Matthew, who's always the MVP of our chat. Do you think Willie will take public transit in Sweden? Honestly, probably, because have you been to other cities and seen, I mean, I don't know, you don't live in Toronto, but like maybe you've been there. As Torontonians, have you been to other cities and seen their transit compared to Toronto transit, like smaller cities? Go travel. You'll realize we're getting a terrible deal. That's all I'm saying.
Man, it's funny that you say that.
DC, and their transit is way better.
It's funny you say that because in Ottawa, our transit system barely even works. The train goes to like only half the city, doesn't even reach my neighborhood, and it breaks down every week. So, like, you think it's bad in Toronto? Come check out the freaking LRT in Ottawa, and you will be astounded at how much worse it is.
Yes, but the greater Ottawa area is like 1 million people. The greater Toronto is like half the country, you know? Anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's a different podcast. That's game over public
Game over public transport.
Game over public infrastructure. We'll catch you then. My name is Fouad Suleiman. You can catch me, Fouad_sports on Twitter, where I occasionally tweet, especially about bad things about the game and stuff like that. We hope to see you guys back again. Next one will be Game Over Toronto and Calgary. We've got three all-Canadian matchups just coming together here. We're really bringing the content for you here at STPN. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming out to hear me rant, and thanks for the shout and fraud, and thank you for the Ottawa fans for indulging the shout and fraud and celebrating your team. You could be anywhere else in the world right now, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.